You think people are gonna be disappointed? Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and this is a preview of the Sony A9 II. Now, we don't physically have one in our hands, or we didn't get to use it just yet, but we did have a call with Sony where they went over the specs and we got to ask a bunch of different questions, and now I am giving you the preview of what the A9 II brings. Moving forward throughout this video, you won't be seeing any pictures of the actual camera or video of the camera being used because Sony didn't supply us with anything beforehand and we didn't get a hands-on with it. But when we do get our hands on this camera, we will take it out into the real world and give it the real world treatment. Now keep in mind that it's only been 2.5 years since the A9 original came out and was revolutionary for what it offered. So what is new inside of the A9 II? Not much. The body design follows through with the A7R4. So it's very similar. You have that new grip, which is welcomed. It's a much nicer feeling camera in the hands. You have the new joystick, the better buttons, locking dials at the top, and they did keep the dial on the left-hand side of the A9. Now, I'm not a fan that they kept that dial. That dial is only good for changing how many frames a second you shoot, going from AFS to AFC. I don't know why it's not function driven in the menu. You cannot go into the menu and quickly change AFS to AFC or the frame rates. You have to physically take your eye away from the camera and turn that dial. At least if you're gonna have that dial, give me the option to control it inside the menu. Let me jump in here real quick and say the images that you're seeing on the screen were edited using FroPack 1 from images taken with the Sony A9. If you're looking to speed up your RAW workflow or give yourself a great starting point, we created 14 custom Lightroom presets that you can check out at FroKnowsPhoto.com/presets. Over there, you can play with the sliders to see the befores and afters, and if you pick them up right now, they are 40% off for a limited amount of time. Now it's time to talk about the top level specs, and this is where the rumor sites were wrong. And this may disappoint some people because honestly, I was slightly disappointed until I was like, well, it's only been 2.5 years since the A9 came out. You have the same 24 megapixel stacked sensor that gives you 20 frames a second in compressed RAW and 12 frames a second in uncompressed RAW. Now, when I asked Sony, why is this the case? They said they had the ability to get more megapixels onto the sensor, but they didn't have the processing power to keep up with it just yet. Is it disappointing? Ever so slightly, because if it was more and they had the capability to do it, they might have put a nail in the coffin of Canon and Nikon much sooner, but this gives Nikon and Canon the ability to, who am I kidding? They're not catching up anytime soon. So basically they chose not to go with a new sensor. Now they're still way ahead of Nikon and Canon. To put this into perspective, it's only been 2.5 years, like I said, since the A9 came out. When Nikon and Canon update their highest end flagship pro bodies, it's generally 4 to 4.5 years for a full update. Sure, Nikon does the D4, then the D4S and the D5, and this time they're skipping the D5S, but it's 4 to 4.5 years in between updates. At least at this time, you're getting the updated body, the better buttons, and a bunch of other features that I'm gonna talk about right now. In the A9, you could shoot 5 frames a second with the mechanical shutter. It was basically useless. I would press the shutter button, it wouldn't take a picture instantly, it was slow, it was delayed, it was behind. Now you can do 10 frames a second with the mechanical shutter, and they put in there the anti-flicker mode, so in case you're a sports photographer and there's LED boards in the background and the electronic shutter is giving you lines, you can break out the mechanical shutter and shoot at 10 frames a second with the anti-flicker mode. It's the same shutter that you find inside of the Sony A7R4, which is basically a silent shutter. It makes some noise, but if you're shooting sports in a loud stadium, it doesn't matter at all. One of the biggest updates to this camera is it has a new Bions X processor. Now, Sony says that the new processor will give you better color, cleaner high ISO, faster autofocus, and 10% better battery life. Though we didn't get a new sensor in this camera, having a new processor will give this camera the ability to pull out better quality. Now, I'm all for higher ISO that's cleaner, so hopefully we will see the difference with the Bionz X processor. In terms of ISO, you still have a native 100 to 51,200 ISO, expandable all the way up to 204,800. You still have the same 693 autofocusing points, but this time around, you have real-time IAF as well as tracking. Even though in the A9, if you update to the firmware, the latest firmware, you will get those additions as well. Sony did let us know that the A9 II will have enhanced tracking AF algorithms to help track erratically moving subjects. So if you can get better than the AF tracking that they already have, then that is going to be a win. Moving on to the other side of the paper, you can now select between red or white AF points, which is similar to what the A7R4 has, and by similar, I mean the exact same thing that they can do. You can now move AF points while shooting, which is not something I've ever actually thought about doing, or maybe I have, but what they're saying is while your finger is pressed down on the shutter button, you can move the autofocusing points at the same time, which I'm still trying to figure out what situation would I ever need that in, but if you know, please let me know down below, because nowadays with the lock-on tracking AF, I'm most likely relying on that, which is always moving focusing points while I'm actually shooting. Let me cut in here and say, would you like to take better pictures in only 11 days? Well, if so, I created a free mini video course that you can sign up for right now at FroKnowsPhoto.com/11days. One upgrade I was hoping for inside of this camera would have been to use the A7R4's electronic viewfinder. Sony decided to stick with the same 3.6 million dot EVF that the A9 used. Now, the reason they gave us for that is they say that it has 120 frames per second refresh rate to keep up with the 20 frames per second, and I guess that the A7R4's either isn't capable of doing it or they didn't want to put it into this camera. I'm not really sure which one it is. Did Sony decide to go with CF Express cards? The answer, Steven? No, they didn't. They now have two UHS-2 SD card slots where the A9 only had one. The top one is now number 1 and the bottom is now number 2, because if you've ever used an A9, you would know that the second slot's on the top and the first slot's on the bottom. It just didn't make any sense. Hopefully in the future, they decide to redesign the body and go with CF Express. This is a fast shooting camera. I want the fastest cards possible. Like the A9, you still have a crappy 3-inch touchscreen. I say crappy because it's really not the greatest screen on the back of a camera. Nikon's are much better. Now, can you touch the menu system? No, you still can't touch this. MC Hammer was like, can't touch this. Doom, 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 doom.
Can't touch me.
I want it to be like Milli Vanilli. I just blame it on the rain. I don't know why you can't touch the menu system, why they can't unlock this. It would make things much easier, but you still can't do it in the A9 II. You will now find 5.5 stops of IBIS, which means it went up a half stop over the A9. The video features are exactly the same, except for the lock-on tracking AF or the IAF for people and animals that you get inside of this camera. Now, they did add load save settings, which was added in the A7R4. That's gonna be great for sports shooters who have multiple cameras and just want to be able to download those settings to a new camera and not have to set it up from scratch, which was a major pain in the ass. Now, the specs I'm about to go over are really only important to those full-time working sports photographers who needed better connectivity. You now have a LAN terminal for FTP transfers. It uses gigabit, so it's going to be much faster. You have high-speed FTP, which means you can shoot and transfer at the same time. You have save load for up to 10 different FTP settings, 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. You have voice memo where you can record a memo up to 60 seconds, meaning if you just took a great picture, you hit the memo button, you go, this just happened. It was this player to this player, number 9, number 12, whatever, touchdown, score, winning. You can say whatever you want, and even when you transfer it, it will take that audio and convert it to text for easier captioning. And finally, when is it available and how much does it cost? It will be available in November. We don't know what part of November, but it will be $4,500, which is the same price as the A9 when that was brand new. And if you're in Canada, you're going to be spending 5,850 Canadian dollars of your hard-earned loonies and toonies. Or if you've been waiting for the price of an A9 to drop, well, now may be the time, because it's going to be new for $3,500 or around there, which means you may be able to get one for $3,000 or less used. So if you're somebody who's been waiting for the A9 to drop in price, currently it's $3,500, but it may drop to even lower new when the A9 II comes out. Or you may be able to find one used for under $3,000, and that is going to be a fantastic steal if you can find one used. Let me jump in here and let you know that this video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you're looking to build your very own online portfolio, head on over to squarespace.com/FroKnowsPhoto, where you can get a 14-day free trial, and if you decide that it's for you, use the code FroKnowsPhoto at checkout to get 10% off your first order. Now let's get back to the video. So was I disappointed when I was on the phone call with Sony about the A9 II? And at first, yes, slightly disappointed. But when you look at the upgrades that you do get, being that this is an incremental upgrade after 2.5 years, you get the newer body, better feeling, better newer grip, better buttons, better joystick. You get the new Bionz X processor, which is hopefully going to give you cleaner images. And you still have a revolutionary camera that is well beyond what Canon and Nikon are going to be capable of doing for at least the next 2 to 4 years. Here's something you need to keep in mind. If you're bitching about this camera and it's not a camera that you would ever own, then you have nothing to bitch about. This camera is designed for those sports shooters who need exactly what this camera offers. If you're somebody who's never gonna own it, but just wants to bitch about it, you honestly need to shut up and let the pros do what they're going to do with this body. So will I be getting an A9? The answer is probably. I'm going to try it out to see if it's going to be my daily shooter, but since I've used the A7R4 in the real world, I love the 61 megapixels, and I don't know that I need to be shooting at 20 frames per second. But if I do need to shoot silent, I could use the A7R4, but if I really need to shoot silent and shoot fast, then I don't think that the A9 II is going to be a bad camera to have in the bag. What are your thoughts? Let me know down below. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And that is where I'll leave it. Jared, Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.